one of the most storied franchises in NFL history, 4 Super Bowls, 2 by 2 different coaches, Tom Coughlin, Bill Parcells, had a lot of success. Fassel took them to another. I mean, they've been a good franchise and a good organization. Heck, they took down the Patriots twice with, unbelievable teams, and were able to get those victories in the Super Bowl, unexpected victories, by Eli Manning. Mariners have owned the team for, I believe since inception. The Tisches got involved, a number of years back, and, those two have kind of shepherded the Giants through a lot of success in, the Big Apple. Not an easy place to play, not an easy place to win, huge media market, and love it or hate it. I mean, New York is a football town. It's a baseball town too. And, the Giants, they're the cream of the crop. They're right up there. New York Yankees. The Knicks have been irrelevant for a long time, but they still get a lot of love. They're in the biggest market in America, in the NFL. And because of that, they're going to receive a lot of eyeballs. And so, they went out, and you look at their coaching hirings, what they're ultimately doing. Didn't hire a black coach this time around. And Stephen A. Smith brings up the fact that John Mayer is on the diversity committee. They hired Brian Daboll, and everybody knows what kind of happened with him and Brian, the text with him and Brian Flores getting mixed up with Bill Belichick and who they're ultimately going to hire. Did it ultimately, was it a sham interview? Did the Giants even really want to hire Brian Flores? We've kind of talked about that, but the allegations, Stephen A. Smith going off on, John Mara, whose team has owned it, how he's on the diversity committee for the NFL, never had a black head coach, never had a black quarterback, and how that there's like racial undertones that he's was insinuating that happened within the organization. And he's been a reporter. He's been in New York a long time. He has connections inside. Well, Tiki Barber, who played for the Giants for about a decade, took umbrage to that and spouted back at Stephen A. and saying, you don't know what you don't know. I know the marriage. I know the Tisches. They've treated me like family incredibly well over the tenure. Tiki Barber, for the younger folks out there, incredibly talented running back, guy who I watched growing up and they got a chance to play against a couple of times. Really, really talented player. And, missed the Super Bowl with the Giants, but was really the face of that team and the face of that organization for a number of years. Had a lot of success there, and now works in radio and TV in New York, and is still a part of the fabric of that community and the fabric of the franchise. And so when he comes out and said, they treated me like family, they didn't treat me racist, I'm going to have a tendency to believe him. And the fact that they haven't had a black head coach, okay, I get that. Haven't had a black quarterback. All right. Well, you had Eli Manning there for about the last decade and change. You had Phil Simms for a large run in the 90s, kind of spun it through. Okay. Is that something you'd like to change? I don't think there's anything inherent saying we want a white quarterback. I don't think that's what the Giants were trying to do by any stretch. Evaluate players. They bring in the best guys that they see. And with where they pick and where they lined up, they picked Daniel Jones over Dwayne Haskins last year. Dwayne Haskins, who I thought a lot of coming out, he's on his second team with the Steelers, didn't pan out well with the Washington football team at the time, now the Commanders. And if you look at Daniel Jones, yeah, he struggled, but he hasn't been great either. So I don't know if either one of those guys maybe should have been picked that high. But they also did, and Stephen A. addressed this, they've had a black GM in Jerry Reese, who won 2 Super Bowls, by the way. He also helped hire McAdoo, which ultimately led to his firing, but Jerry Reese was at the helm from 2007 to 2017. What people don't know about this, and this is, unless you're familiar with the New York Giants situation, they've got, I believe, if not the longest, one of the longest tenured head trainers, and he basically runs the entire health side of the Giants organization, football-wise. He reports only to the owners. He has been there 40 years. He has survived numerous coaches and general managers, which doesn't usually happen. But a guy named Ronnie Barnes, who's fantastic, an African-American, a black gentleman, who does an unbelievable job. And you talk to trainers around the NFL, the most respected guy you're going to find. And he was impervious to coaching hirings and firings, GM hirings and firings. And so I think that proves that they're not racist. I don't know how you can prove that outside of, talking to these guys and then having players and coaches and people of color who have had conversations with them. And Tiki Barber was part of that organization. And so for him to say that and being inside of it for as long as he has and my dad being a part of it, looking at it, granted, I'm a white guy. What the heck do I know in this situation? But then watching it, knowing other guys who have played there and who've had unbelievable experiences with the Giants, who really do a great job of taking care of their players and promoting them in the city of New York. But you look at the track record in totality, I wouldn't say that you would be able to find any of those accusations. It's not to say that Stephen A. Smith didn't hear anything, but the biggest issue I had was then in his retort when he responded to Tiki after this. This is the big issue. This is where we have, like, we're talking sports media here. The Tiki Barber's got some stuff in his personal history. A lot of guys have a lot of baggage, and nobody ever threatens someone with that personal baggage. There's a code. There's an understanding saying, hey, we all know a lot of things. A lot of guys know where skeletons are buried. For other people, people know where they're buried for them. And they're discussed privately, never alluded to openly, never really talked about publicly. And Stephen A. Smith basically threatening Tiki Barber with that, and then saying, I would never bring it up. I would never bring out those personal things, but I know a lot on you. I know I got dirt on you. Like that to me is where he crossed the line from personal professionalism to being personal and trying to throw it out there. You like waving the handgun, waving the stick, saying, hey, I can do this. I'm going to choose not to. It's not professional. It's alluding that you could do it, and you're just ultimately not, because you feel like you're the better person, grandstanding a little bit. And I respect Stephen A. He's done a great job, but that to me crosses the line. And I think he probably crossed the line in some of his accusations with the New York Giants as well, and what he was saying about them. Maybe there have been people that have told him that, but talking with players, doing some research, listening to Tiki Barber, there's none of that I've found. And looking at kind of the history of the New York Giants over the last 30 to 40 years, with which I'm familiar with, I haven't seen any of that as well. And so, Stephen A., take a break, take a chill pill. We need to all like dial down the rhetoric a little bit and just have a conversation if you want to talk about this without the accusations. And if you're going to really say it, like, put some people's names on it. If they have that big of a problem with it, with people that have been inside the organization, because most of the people that I've talked to that have had experiences with it of all races wouldn't be able to identify any of the things that were being accused. And then don't step over the line at the end.